There is no denying that Super Megaforce and Megaforce has issues.
You need to edit that out.
But after reviewing seasons 1 and 2, I think the actors really had the skill level to carry a great season.
This is enough of a message to get our point across?
We'd all love for them to bring back 50 different veteran Rangers, have a massive movie of the legendary battle, but cost was a concern. And yes, we can argue that they should have put a lot more money into it, but they didn't.
Pay for this.
I'm going to view this as a stipulation as we try to fix the 20th anniversary of Power Rangers. So here are my main rules when doing this, is that we can't have any extreme budget jump, no drastic change to any of the characters' personalities, keeping it to the choices of using 2 different Sentai seasons. They thought that would get in more money. Even with all these stipulations, I think there are simple changes that could have been done that could have saved this season.
I can handle this!
Now, after analyzing thousands of Power Ranger episodes throughout my whole entire life, I notice how episodes have certain elements that factor into them. Just like Star Wars has an adorable robot companion in pretty much every single series, Power Rangers has commonly used themes as well. I broke this down into a few different elements. The fight scenes in their suits, their Zord battles, command center, a mentor, maybe a robot companion or a sidekick to the mentor, the villain's lair, unmorphed scenes where they're hanging out at a local place or they're at school or maybe they're at a workplace, a comic relief, and a techie, someone who's smart who is either a Power Ranger or a friend of the Power Rangers who helps them. And these elements can be shifted around in very different ways. My favorite example of this is RJ from Jungle Fury, because he is so many different things. He's the comic relief, he's the tech guy, he's the smart person, he's the mentor, he also becomes a Sixth Ranger. He has all these different elements, and he's a really well-written character. And great seasons of Power Rangers balance these sort of things really well and in really cool ways. Now, if you watch the breakdowns of these 2 seasons, you'll see that it's very unbalanced, and we're going to talk about how it can be fixed.
I was afraid of what might happen if I did.
The fight scenes in Zord battles are without a doubt the cheapest to produce for Power Rangers. Sentai has already done the filming, and with 2 seasons of Sentai they're working with, there's over 101 episodes that they can take from Sentai to jam into 40 episodes of Power Rangers. These scenes are simple voiceovers. They don't have to have a camera crew, they don't have to have makeup, they don't have to have a lighting crew or a stunt team. And frankly, the writing got very lazy, especially towards the end of Super Megaforce, where over about 80% of the episodes was just using Sentai footage and doing voiceovers. We need to trim the fat, take out all the battles that don't mean anything and they're just fillers, only keep the ones that actually matter to the storyline, but we will have to find ways to cut down the budget in other areas. The command center scenes with Tensu and Gosei, in both breakdowns I brought them up and how Tensu and Gosei are so hated by a lot of the fandom. The Rangers don't even go to the command center from episode 2 to episode 7 of the first season, and even after that, they barely go that often to it. Most episodes, they just call them on their communicator, but they never physically even show them in the episode. The Rangers lose their time bonding with Gosei and Tensu. The audience loses our time to connect with them as well, which is why I think a lot of people hate them, even though they really didn't do that much. And fixing this imbalance won't mess up the budget that much. Tensu and Gosei both don't have mouths to move, so voicing over the same clips over and over again wouldn't be that hard and it would be very cost effective.
Good.
Taking a few days of filming, each actor saying some lines in the command center that could be used for almost any situation would be really helpful. When Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Twee Trang left Mighty Morphin Power Rangers,
goodbyes are always so sad.
They used a lot of old footage for the command center scenes.
Hold on!
They could make it seem like they were still there until the next group of the cast comes in. Film 45-second shots of the back of their heads, the front of their heads, individually, as a group, different configurations. I mean, these sort of things would be really easy. And then when Gosei is talking to them, show their faces. And then when they have a voiceover, show the back of their head. Would it look perfect?
Right?
Nah.
What?
No, it's not going to look perfect, but it would be better than them just never going to the command center at all. And the fact that this season never has them change their outfits would be a really good excuse for them to just use these shots over and over and over again throughout the seasons, and give us a better connection to Gosei and Tenzu. One issue I point out in season 1 is that the villain's lair scenes really don't have any strategy talk. When the monsters come down, they don't go after Noah saying, well, he's the intelligent one. If we can destroy him, then they won't be able to strategize. Or with Jake, they don't say, well, he's too confident. We need to break his confidence down. And without that, he won't be able to fight us. The story needs to be connected. That way we feel progress with the villains. But it felt so disconnected because they just didn't really have a motive or any reason why they were doing something. And we get this hodgepodge of groups of monsters. We have the insects, we have the mutants, the robots, and then the Armada. And I think if they would have maybe called this something like the United Alliance of Evil, it would have given an overall reason for why all these different types of monsters and robots and stuff are working together. And the dialogue can allude to some big overlord at the end. And that discussion would build up over the season, wondering who is this person? And we could also include some great Easter eggs like the insectoids being from Edenoi, a planet where humans actually evolved from insects instead of monkeys. These monsters could have been former warriors of Count Dragon.
Perfect.
The mutants made from pollution on the Earth maybe could be leftover mutants from Time Force who maybe got left in the past and escaped, or maybe they could have been renamed to orgs from Wild Force. The episode structure definitely needs to be fixed. We should start every episode at the mall, eventually leading to Ernie's brain freeze. This is the point where we get to learn about the Rangers' personalities. We have funny moments, established their personality, their struggles. Maybe Troy is feeling inadequate as a leader. Maybe Gia might have said something that hurt Jake's feelings and now she feels like a bad friend. Emma maybe snapped at a rude customer and now is struggling with feeling bad and wondering why she feels like she has to be perfect all the time. And then we need the villain's lair. They need to have observed whatever had happened. Let's go with the Gia storyline. The monster observes Gia crossing a line, hurting Jake's feelings. They decide to send out a monster to turn Jake evil. Jake is walking alone and the monster poisons him. Then Gia sees Jake at Ernie's brain freeze. She tries to apologize and joke with him, but Jake is over the top mean to her, and it leaves Gia feeling more defeated. Then Gosei calls the Rangers. They physically go to the base, but Jake doesn't come. They ask what's wrong with Jake. Gia confesses that she hurt his feelings. When they go fight the monster, Jake starts to fight against them, and they realize that Jake is under a spell. Gia tells them that she cares about him. Her confession breaks the spell on Jake. Then they defeat the monster with a Zord battle. They are at the command center for a debriefing. Gosei tells them to always show kindness and support for each other. The team goes to Ernie's brain freeze. Jake asks Gia if what she said was true. She tries to play it off like she was just trying to break the curse, but when Jake heads over to the counter, Gia looks at him with a glance of love before the episode ends. This to me would be a great episode focusing on specific characters to grow their story, but here's the part that is still missing from Megaforce, the comic relief. Now, the established comic relief is Ernie and Mr. Burley. The adult idiot comic relief is a very Disney style thing to do, but Power Rangers doesn't usually do this. Think back to Bulk and Skull. They interact in the world. They might spill a drink on Ernie or cause Miss Appleby to get flustered, but neither of these characters are dumb or out of touch. Even a season like Ninja Steel has Monty and Victor, and they interact with the principal, but she isn't clueless or stupid. And in honesty, the Megaforce Ernie, I don't know what really makes him a comic relief. I hate to say this, but I think they just thought the accent would make things funny.
Nice catch.
Nothing he does or says is very comical. And in the day and age where laughing at an accent is very, very taboo, at least in America, like you would definitely get canceled if you just thought, oh, the accent's funny, or you said that. It just makes me think, what's going on with this? How can we fix this? You don't see this one coming. Spike. Now, some people might not like Spike. To me, this would be a great option for comic relief. Have him working at Ernie's brain freeze. He's the one always messing things up. He breaks the Froyo machine and him and Ernie fall into it. Ernie can still join in the chaos and comical parts, but he would be the straight man for Spike.
Now who wants some froyo?
Establishing that sort of comic team. Spike would give so much to this anniversary season. One of the best parts of Bulk and Skull is that they are the characters who had the biggest story arc starting off as these delusional bullies and then eventually standing up to Astronema in Power Rangers in Space. Spike worked all season training to become a samurai, wanting to be a hero, and even though maybe he isn't physically someone who can help defeat something, maybe in a roundabout way, he could be the one who has these little conversations with the Power Rangers, who inspires them, who helps them. I keep picturing the storyline where Jake goes to the counter at Ernie's and Spike notices that Jake seems down, and Jake reveals that he has this turmoil with Gia, that he has these feelings for. And then Spike could start talking about his experience with this girl he liked, Mia. And then Jake can kind of not be listening all that much and say, no, it's Gia. And then he could be like, no, it's Mia. And then they could have this whole comical who's on first sort of, banter. But these surprising sentimental moments with Spike could really help the Rangers. And even without Spike understanding what he said, that really inspired them to maybe figure out how to defeat a monster or overcome something, I think it could be a beautiful use of this character. And at the end of the finale, Spike could stand up to the Armada, mirroring what his dad and Uncle Bulk did in Power Rangers in Space. To me, I think that would really be a cool improvement to this season, but let's see, how do we handle the two different Sentai seasons? After season 1, I really think they should have just abandoned the Megaforce suits altogether. No more angel suits.
What's going on?
The Super Megaforce powers brought issues. Why didn't they use these powers before? Why is Gosei not revealing them to them? So let's fix that. In the finale of season 1, Vrock steals their morphers at the last minute before he goes into hiding. Troy, Gosei, Tensu, and Robo Knight take off in the base and fly it towards the Armada to stop them. They create some sort of black hole and they all get sucked in. Then we flash forward to a couple months later. Everyone is hanging out at Ernie's brain freeze when there is an attack. The Rangers take off to stop the monsters, but with no powers. And as all hope seems lost, we see this mysterious Red Ranger who looks like a pirate. The Rangers are in shock, and that's the season finale of season 1 of Megaforce. Season 2, the mysterious Red Ranger fights off all the henchmen, using keys to turn into different Rangers, and finally, after the Red Ranger holds them off, he takes off his helmet, and we see Troy. They're all so happy to see him, but something is different about Troy. He seems a little off. But he greets his team, he gives them these new morphers, and he says something like, the fight isn't over yet. They all morph and fight off the Armada together. After the battle, they ask Troy what happened. He reveals that Robo Knight, Gosei, and Tensu and himself have been battling the Armada for months. They sort of bootlegged these Ranger keys to use them to power up this new power. The Rangers ask where their mentor and friends are. The Armada found a way to escape the Lost Galaxy, and I had to follow them, but the others didn't make it, Troy says. Troy explains to them that these powers are not stable and that without Tensu and Gosei's help, they have to be very, very careful how they proceed, but they all agree they have to risk it.
No matter what the danger, the Rangers go where they're needed.
I think this is a great alternative to how Super Megaforce started. The writers did make Troy seem more troubled in season 2, and the trauma of fighting in space would be a good excuse for that, as well as missing Robo Knight or the trauma or guilt of maybe feeling like he left Robo Knight behind. Might be a good explanation for why he's searching for Robo Knight. And the absence of Gosei would be a perfect reason why the Rangers need to be mentored by all these other veteran Rangers. To me, this would make the plot work a lot better. I think Orion's entrance should have happened long before all the anniversary tribute episodes started happening.
Sorry I joined so late.
When Orion comes to Earth, maybe in episode 3 or 4, it could be revealed that him and Troy met while they were fighting in space. His backstory of surviving his home planet's attack could still be there, besides the whole part of him finding the morpher. Maybe he was taken prisoner by the Armada, and when Troy and Robo Knight were fighting, they found this person locked up and they helped Orion out, and Orion joined them in the fight. As Troy followed the Armada through the black hole to come back to Earth, Orion was possibly saved by Robo Knight giving over his power, creating this 6 Ranger power that Orion wields. I think that would make a lot more sense if Robo Knight sort of sacrificed himself. Then his body could have been found by the Armada. They could have brought it back to Earth. Maybe Prince of Vikar passed it to his brother at some point in secret, and that would be, I think, a really cool way to do it. I think they could have done an off-world tribute as well, especially with Lost Galaxy and In Space being such monumental seasons in the fandom. I think having Tensu and Gosei being captured just like Zordon was, having their location revealed, would have been a really cool way for them to incorporate them going into space. And I said no major budget jumps, but it could have been really cool had them meet maybe a Sentai team that they've morphed into that we have not seen in Power Rangers before. It could have made at least that sort of part of the fandom, made a connection for us, and just a cool episode to throw in an old Sentai suit. Now, thinking of the budget, I think that wouldn't have been too hard to do, considering they could have done the same exact thing they did for the RPM episode, where they are just in the ship with a green screen behind them, and this time they could just have it be space, and they're traveling through space. When Vrock returns and captures Orion, using his energy to stop the Rangers from being able to use their Super Megaforce powers, he could give them back their morphers, since he can change forms just like their Super Megaforce form, and maybe he is really cocky and thinks, I've been studying your Megaforce powers all this time, here, use them and I'll take you out anyway. The Rangers could comment about how good it feels to have their full strength back. And Orion could have had a much different fate in this idea, that he could have maybe saved Robo Knight and brought him back by sacrificing his own energy to break the spell. Orion losing his powers and possibly his life.
Who are you?
When Emperor Mavro comes in, there's only about 3 episodes left, and even though that was in the Sentai, I think bringing in someone like General Vengex surviving the Serpentera explosion back in Forever Red could have been a really cool reveal and an awesome build-up to show that he's been behind this the whole time. Because Emperor Mavro, I mean, victory over him is fine. I mean, okay, but we don't really care much about him. Victory over General Vengex, that could be more epic.
Just in time.
You know, the legendary battle is what it is. We all know it's not a fan favorite. With the cost, I know bringing back every single former Ranger just is not possible, but I wish they had brought them in all at different times. Like, I would assume the paycheck would be the same, flying them over would probably be the same, and just make one episode where Carter and Dana, you know, help them rescue people. Or maybe their In Space episode I talked about could have had TJ and Cassie helping them out. All those appearances, along with Jaden and Casey, they should have taken the time to film just one extra scene for each person on a grassy hill in their uniform with the rest of their team behind them looking down at the Rangers, smiling, and then putting their helmet on and going about their time. This would bring a really cool way of acknowledging how these Rangers have all helped them get to this point.
Well, it wouldn't have happened without you guys.
And now they're all going to fight together, and that way they wouldn't have to have them all in one shot. They could all be separate, and then come up to them and do a quick voiceover of Casey saying, you know, great job, guys, and Jake saying thanks, like Sensei or Master Casey and all that stuff. It would have been, I think, a lot better way to do it, and probably cost effective, I think. Personally, I thought Spike would be a really cool addition. Do you like that? Do you not like that? What ideas do you have? Simple changes that could have been done to make this season way better. Let me know in the comments, guys. Nice to talk to you. Have a good one. Bye.